Welcome in, Big Blue Nation, to another episode of the Cats Talk podcast. I'm your host, Cameron Johnston, joined by my co-host today, Jacob Boyers and Tyler Britton. Guys, it's the middle of July, so there's really not too much going on in the University of Kentucky sphere, but we do have the TBT tournament kicking off here on Friday night at about 9 is when the former Cats, and some NKU Norse. We got some Murray State Racers in there. Some Xavier Musketeers are also on this team as well. A little hodgepodge of everywhere around the area of Kentucky. Jesser, the famous YouTuber, 32 plus million followers on YouTube, unfortunately is not going to be a part of this team. So that spotlight will not be put onto the La Familia team. But Jacob, I know you know a good amount about Marquez Warwick. The NKU Norse obviously played last year with Missouri. Had a great game against the Cats in that game as well. What do you expect him to add to this team as he was one of the later ads?
Yeah, I watched Marquez very closely for his first, really 3 years there at NKU. He's a really good scorer. Always kind of has been. He can kind of get a shot anywhere from on the court. Good 3-point shooter. I think for this type of tournament, he's really kind of the perfect player to add. When it's not going to be a ton of defense. Also, adding two guys to this roster that just played college basketball last year and are in some of the best shape of their lives. A lot of these guys are still obviously really good athletes, but you're getting a lot of guys pushing 30 after 30. So I just think it'll be nice to kind of have that refreshing players on the team, and I think he'll be one of the better players right away, and expect him to probably start for this team. And I don't know if every game he'll go out there and light it up, but I think we'll see a couple 20-point games out of him, and I'll trade him for Jessler any day of the week for a team that you want to hopefully try to win this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the goal is to win this. It's $1 million prize to the team who wins it. So obviously all these Cats are wanting to get in there and get a hand in this money. But I'm not sure if you've seen a lot of the social media content that's been coming out of the university this week from the La Familia team. Yep. But just seeing a lot of those guys back wearing Kentucky gear, like I think this is the first time I've seen Archie Goodwin in anything Kentucky or even in the city of Lexington since his departure. Seeing the older guys, like I think DeAndre Liggins is the oldest guy on this roster. Seeing him paired up with Ansley Almanor, who's obviously the youngest guy on the roster, just coming from Pope. Seeing the clashes of, that goes back to Gillespie's tenure all the way to Pope. Being able to intertwine those is really cool. And, you said Ansley's going to be in great shape for this. I tell you what, man, if you look at DeAndre and Ansley side by side, DeAndre's a unit, man. He still is. He's still in great shape. Really looking forward to seeing what this team can do on Friday. And obviously, we'll be watching, keeping a close eye. I think we all expect this team to get out of the first round at least.
Yeah, I think it's great from that perspective. And then obviously, the guys that are here now get to scrimmage them and you get to play against competition that you're not seeing just every single day in practice. A lot of the reports around practice were, from the Kentucky side, Otega, Owe, and Jalen Lowe were the best players. I think to kind of hear that we expected out of Owe, but to really kind of hear that Jalen Lowe's potentially the point guard that, this team needs. It's exciting playing against guys that played in the NBA, really good basketball players, and to go out there and, be able to go against that for a week or two before they get ready to go ahead to the tournament. I think it benefits everybody all around.
Yeah, it really does. And, there's a lot of ties with this team already. Obviously, we mentioned that Andrew and Aaron both knew Jalen from their time growing up in Texas. They knew their family and everything. So seeing those three, go at it during this time, the young Cats won the scrimmage is everything that I've seen. I think it was like 61-55. They were able to win that. So it's good to see. Obviously, the TBT team has only been playing together for 3 or 4 days, so obviously take that with a grain of salt. But like you mentioned, playing against older guys, veteran guys who have that men's strength, not the 18-year-old college freshman like Jasper, being able to survive being pushed and bullied around like that, I think it's going to be really good, especially while we start barreling and start getting more into the depths of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And then, to the earlier point, I think it's just cool to kind of tie everything together. You kind of – everybody – we always talk about it. Kentucky is a place that you play here once, you're kind of a member for life. And to your point, Cam, you're bringing Gillespie players, Cal players. Pope is the head coach, and you're just kind of bringing a lot of different eras kind of all together, and it's really cool. I mean, the picture of John Wall popped up the other day where he was wearing the Kentucky gear. Like, it's just awesome to see these guys that didn't play for the current coach still kind of being here and supporting it while that coach is still in basketball somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, it even goes back to the Pitino days with Sean Woods being the head coach. I mean, Sean's probably a guy who, the reason that we're here today, obviously the prior 2 weeks, our all-time Coach Calipari drafts and our all-time Tubby Smith drafts. Today, it's Coach P, Slick Rick Pitino, guys. I know we got a lot of things to talk about with these guys. Obviously, we mentioned it before we started recording. I wasn't alive for any of these seasons. Jacob, I know you weren't either. Tyler, I think you might have been alive for a season, maybe a season and a half as the old vet in this room. You're the DeAndre Liggins of this room. I'm kind of like the Ansley Almanor. Boyers is somewhere in the middle. He's maybe, like a Marquez Warwick. He's still got some little legs left in him. I know you're the old man here, so we're about to get kicked off here. Do you have anything to say, any strategy that you're looking for in this Pitino draft while I get the names spinning?
No, I'm just looking forward to getting the best team drafted, man. It's going to be I don't care where I go. I'm going to get the best player on the board.
Yeah, I mean, you're 0 for 2 on doing that so far. Let's hope the third time.
Here we go.
That's what they normally say. Jacob, do you have anything that you want to tell the Big Blue Nation before we get this wheel spinning and we see who's picking number one?
Yeah, hopefully Cam doesn't rig this one, for the pick. It would be nice if he could share his screen here so that we can make sure, there's no funny business. But, yeah, other than that, a lot of guys I've watched a lot of highlights of growing up. Obviously, not alive to see them play in person, but, studied them as much as possible. So, ready to get it going.
Yeah, well, the first pick is in. I'm not sure if you heard the little applause there, and I missed it by just about this much. Tyler Britton, you are going to be picking first overall. I believe this is the first time you've held the number one overall pick. I think we've actually all split having the first pick in each draft so far. So you get the number one pick of the Rick Pitino era draft. Who are you going to kick it off with?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting draft with being the number one pick here. Usually I'm used to being that number two slot, so nice to get that top spot here. I'm going to start with probably the best player on the board here, Jamal Mashburn. Led Kentucky in the 1993 Final Four. He was an elite scorer, NBA-ready skill set on the court during his playing days, All-American, smooth shooter, versatile on the offense. And then let's talk about his NBA career as well. I mean, this guy played, was an all-star for a couple teams. He averaged about 19 points per game in the NBA. He's going to be an absolute stud on my roster here.
Yeah, and when I think of Jamal Mashburn, I mean, that's my dad's favorite player of all time. If I hear anything about him, I talked to him about this draft. He's like, yep, first pick, hands down, it's Jamal Mashburn. So, Tyler, I really think you got a great pick there. I've had the opportunity of meeting him a couple times. True class act guy, had a great NBA career as well, and is doing great in business ventures outside of his basketball career. Now, Jacob, I'm about to spin the wheel here. Are you really hoping for number two, or are you wanting back-to-back picks at 3 and 4?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't done 2 yet, so that might be a little, change of pace there. Might be nice to kind of switch it up. I will say real quick on Mashburn, I think, you alluded to it, Cam. It was the 1-1. Pretty easy layup. The guy was a multiple seasons scoring 20-plus for the Cats. Really kind of just, when you think about Rick Pitino, you think about, those teams, and especially the, 96 team, you instantly go to Jamal Mashburn. And just great pick, Tom. You got lucky there with the 1-1.
Yep. I mean, the consensus 1-1. I think that's the first. Obviously, the Calipari draft, there was a consensus 1-1. The Pitino draft, there was a consensus 1-1. Maybe even the Tubby Smith, there was a consensus. But obviously, I'm not afraid to go away from the consensus. So I went away from it in that one. But, Jacob, the wheel has stopped spinning. And, sir, you are up on the clock with the second overall pick. Where are we going to be going here?
I'm going to go – there's a couple different guys here. I'm going to go Tony Delk. He's another guy, when you kind of just think about this era, you think about, the players under Rick. I think you mentioned Mashburn, and then right after that, it's usually Tony Delk. So I will be taking Tony Delk.
I mean, you mentioned it. I mean, Tony Delk's one of the all-time leading scorers in Kentucky history.
Yep.
0-0, famous wearing those icicle jerseys. Jacob, I don't know if you saw the Lexington FC. The
I did see that.
They unveiled some icicle jerseys. Tony Delk was a part of that as well. I think that's a really good pick there as well. Would not have been my second pick, but definitely would have been one of my picks if you would have sniped the other guy that I was coming for. Tyler, was Tony really high on your board as well?
Yeah, he was my number 2, Cam. So yeah, if I was going number 2, that would have been my pick too. I applaud that pick, boys.
Well, let's see it, Cam. Your guy's still there. Where are we going?
I mean, in my opinion, Antoine Walker is one of the best to ever put on the Kentucky uniform. Rivals Jamal Mashburn. I think I'm getting a real steal here, getting him 3rd overall. Obviously, I love everything that Tony Delk did as well. But Antoine Walker, I mean, came in just a sophomore year. Obviously, only spent 2 years at the university, but 15.2 points per game and 8.4 rebounds. Had a great NBA career. Obviously, started bulking up a little bit towards the end of that career. But, I mean, he was great even with the Heat and during his early run. I feel really good about getting Antoine Walker at the 3rd overall pick because he was second on my board.
Yeah, love the pick. I was going back and forth between him and Tony Delk. I decided to go Delk, but can't be upset with that pick. Great pick there.
And then, this is weirdly enough, I think it already starts to get tough here because, we're going off of, legends that we've been told, stats, all of this. So obviously, we didn't get to watch a lot of these guys play. And I'm going to go Ron Mercer. I've heard a lot about Ron Mercer. Obviously, I mean, he was only with the Cats for 2 years as well. But the last season he was with us, 18.1 points per game and 5.3 rebounds. I'm going to run him and Antoine as my wings, switch him in between the 3 and the 4. And I feel good about getting those wings and, really getting Ron Mercer and Antoine Walker, both great athletes at their time at the university. I think it's going to be a good pairing, those two guys on the wings.
Yeah, I like it. Solid pick. I'm going to come back. Man, it does get tough here a little bit when you haven't watched a lot of these guys. But kind of knowing what we know, I'm going to come back and take Reggie Hansen. Kind of some size out on the wing, can play a little bit of the 4. Averaged over 16 in his career at Kentucky. So I'll come back and take Reggie Hansen.
Yeah, he was really high on my board, one of the first wings that I wrote down. Next pick, I mean, I might have ran a big lineup and gotten Reggie out there, so I really like that pick here. Tyler, you're going to have back-to-back picks here. Where are you going?
Yeah, first of all, boys, I don't know if I'm necessarily a fan of that pick this early. I had him ranked 16th on my list, so you probably would have had him a couple more rounds. What's that?
I said it's a good thing you're dumb. That makes me feel a lot better.
I might be dumb for not choosing him on your board, but on my board's going to beat your board anyway. So, I got back-to-back picks here. I'm going to go with my power forward first. I'm going to go with Walter McCarthy here. Big stretch, clutching the threes, defended multiple positions as well. He started on the 96 national championship team, and then he had a 10-year NBA career. With the Celtics, and can't say enough about him. So I think he's going to be a really big asset in my power forward spot. And then next on my list, I have Derek Anderson, explosive slasher, elite defender, versatile guard himself, another NBA champion for the Miami Heat as well. So I'm going to take those guys back to back and really bolster my roster.
Yeah, Tyler, I like your second pick a lot better than your first one. Derek Anderson was going to be my next selection if he was going to make it to me. Walter McCarty, I was talking about this with some other people. The legend seems like it lives up more to what the stat sheet does. I look at the stat sheet, and I'm not blown away by anything that he did during his time at Kentucky. He obviously carved out a very good NBA career a little bit later. But when I went back and just, looked at the archives, looked at the history books, I was a little let down because when I hear Walter McCarty, I was thinking of a star player from those 90s. And really the stats say anything but that, but he was a solid member of great teams at the University of Kentucky. Jacob, you're up. It's going to be your third selection. Who are you looking at?
Yeah, this might be a little bit of a reach, but I'm going to go ahead and take it. I feel like, there were a lot of really good guards in the Rick Pitino era. I don't know how many great point guards there were. There were a lot of really great two guards and threes to play the wing. So I'm going to go ahead and get a member from the Unforgettables. I'm going to take Travis Ford. I think he could run the point really well for me. A guy that could score when called upon, averaged double digits his junior and senior year. So I'm going to go ahead and take Travis Ford to run out there and play my point guard.
Yeah, I mean, I love the pick. That's where I was going next. Obviously, you mentioned there's really not too many true point guards during this Rick Pitino time. Like, most people think of Tony Delk as a point guard. Tony Delk was not really a point guard, better at that two guard. So I'm good to see that you followed that Tony Delk pick with more of a facilitator in Travis Ford. I think that's going to allow you to do a lot of things on the offensive side of the ball. Now, I got back-to-back picks, and I've been sniped back-to-back times, so I'm reeling a little bit with my draft board. I'm sitting there. I just took two haymakers back-to-back, so I'm looking at it. I've obviously got two wings here. I'm going to go ahead and get Nazr Mohammed. Obviously, was great with that 98 Tubbies team, and he was really good, starting to develop into his own towards the end of that Rick Pitino era. The guy had I think it was a 20-year NBA career, probably the longest of any Kentucky player. So I feel really good about getting Nazr here this late, even though, for being honest, I would think I still would have rather have had Derek Anderson or Travis Ford at this point. But you guys were on the clock before I did. If the clock would have ran out on you guys, I might have sniped them in there. Would have done, a little old Baltimore Ravens type draft. Get in there right before you say anything. And this is where, obviously, I got to get some guards. I've got all size right now. I got to start looking at guards. And this is going to be a forgotten name because he was on a team that was on probation. Rick Pitino's very first year when he got there, we were still on probation. And Derek Miller averaged 19 points per game that first season. Obviously, that team only went 14-14. They were only 500. But, this guy averaged almost 20 points per game. I can play him at the one. I think that's going to help me get a lot of scoring that I'm going to need, especially from my guards.
I had Derek Miller very high on my board, Cam. I really like the pick. So I'll come back and I'm going to take the captain of the 96 team, our commander-in-chief currently today, and that would be Mark Pope. To be honest, it's I'm kind of surprised he's still here, but it just shows obviously how great the, Pitino era was, how many great players there were. But, I think I'm going to come back and take the captain from that team, a guy that, Pitino's obviously spoken extremely high about. Now we're seeing his basketball IQ as a head coach. So, I love to have Mark Pope down low for me.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think I've heard Pope say in a couple interviews that he's not matching up with Nazr Mohammed. So good luck with that. But obviously, you're getting the commander. You're getting obviously the captain of that 96 team. Has been led to talk about a lot. And obviously now he's the captain of every team that we have going forward for the foreseeable future. Tyler, you've got back-to-back picks. You can't take the Pope. Who are you going with?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. The Pope was on my radar here, so I was considering him. I don't know if I would consider him over this gentleman here. And please help me with the last name. I haven't said it too often, but Jamal Magloire, defensive anchor. What's that?
Magloire, but close
enough.
That's
That's what I said. Jamal Magloire, defensive anchor. He's an elite rebounder, shot blocker. I think he's going to be someone that can match up well against anybody. Not just that, but he was an NBA All-Star as well, playing 12 years in the league. So he's going to be my center there. And then for my point guard, I'm going to go ahead and go Anthony Epps, starting point guard of the 96 championship team as well, known for his calm leadership and clutch free throws. Played professionally overseas as well, so he has a little bit of the professional experience, but definitely had a good footprint with the Kentucky basketball team.
Yeah, Tyler, I like both of those picks. Anthony Epps was going to be probably the guy I was planning on running my point guard here, so for you to be able to snipe him right there is a nice pick. I will say I'm giving you no mercy on not being able to pronounce Jamal Magloire's name as he was picked in our last draft. At some point, we've got to hear things in the years, and we've got to develop them and learn them for future podcasts. So I'm giving you no mercy on that one. But I do like your team, especially your starting five, really starting to round out into shape. Jacob, Tom's got a tough team here. I'm looking at the teams right now. I really like what he's doing. So go ahead and convince me with another pick why yours is up there with him as well.
Yeah, so I'm sitting here trying to, round out my starting five. Travis Ford at the point guard, Tony Delk at the two. Could play Hansen either at the 3 or the 4 probably, and go a little small with Mark Pope down at the 5. I think I'm gonna come back with another solid forward that averaged double digits for most of his career at Kentucky, and that's going to be John Pelfrey. I think I can round out my starting five. Play. We're going to be kind of a bigger, lot of length there, but I like Pelfrey, Hansen, and Pope kind of rounding out that front court.
Yeah, I was honestly kind of hoping Pelfrey was going to be there. He was going to be my second pick just so I could have him as my first guy off the bench. So I really like that selection there. Jacob, I like the team you're building as well, honestly. I like both of your guys' teams. I think they're really starting to round out into shape. Now
I will say I like my team, but I will say this may not be the team that could play too much in today's basketball. But
I don't think any of these teams are playing all that much.
If we're playing this game in '95, I like how my team's stacking up.
Well, the good thing is 95 was during the Pitino era, so I'll give you a little bit of grace there. And plus, obviously, Pitino's going to be coaching all of our teams, so he knows the ins and outs of these guys and their deficiencies and how to work it the best for them. Now, I got to get myself a guard here, so I think I'm gonna switch Derek Miller from running my point to my shooting guard here, and I'm gonna go with the head coach of the La Familia team. He's really the only other facilitator outside of Anthony Epps during this time. And that's going to be Sean Woods, 9.1 points per game, 6 assists. Next year, 9.7, 5.6 assists. And then the final year of his collegiate career at Kentucky, 8 points per game and 4.6 assists. Just as a team, I needed that facilitator to be able to get pass the ball around. So I like being able to get Sean Woods here. And obviously, like we mentioned, head coach of the TBT team, so it's a nice timing to get him selected here as well. And now, obviously, the gates have opened. Everybody's got their starting lineups. This is where you can just take, best player available, who you think's the best out there. And I'm going to go with Darren Feldhouse. I'm going to get myself another wing here. He averaged double digits every year of his Kentucky career. 14.4 and 6.7 rebounds was the highlight of his career. So I like getting Darren Feldhouse here as well. And I really like the way my lineup's starting to turn out. While you guys were sniping every pick that I had, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to maneuver my way into a lineup that I like, but after, some careful consideration, I almost wanted to hit a little pause on the podcast and give myself a shot clock so I could pick these guys, but I like what I've done so far. Jacob, you're back up on the clock.
Yeah, I like the pick a lot. I actually had both of those guys pretty high up on my list here to come off the bench. I'm going to go with one of the better athletes we've seen from kind of a guard position and take a backup guard here. And, we watched his son just a couple years ago. I'll come up and I'll take Mark Pope's roommate and Jeff Shepard.
I knew he wasn't going to last too much longer on the board, but I just wasn't sure who I'd rather have. I wanted a little bit more length in my wing, but Jeff Shepard was definitely up there. Obviously, his best year was in 98, won the most outstanding player of the Final Four. Jacob, I don't know if you remember this. As a senior, he redshirted in 1997. So that last year of Pitino's tenure at the university, didn't even play. It's kind of a weird thing to look back in history. I didn't know that until I got into the depths of, getting all this information for this podcast. It's weird.
It was an injury, right?
Redshirted.
I want to say it was. I mean, again, this was 97 was the year I was born. So to all of our little older fans, I do apologize for not knowing. But I want to say it was an injury.
It was injury related. I think he could have played more games than he did, but they just decided in order to save that, they'll go ahead and redshirt him. Obviously, it was the right move. You win the national championship in 98, and he was obviously a huge part of that. So I really like that pick there. Tyler, you got back-to-back picks. Your starting five's looking really good. Don't choke now. This is where you did it the last time.
I'm not going to choke, but Boyers did take my pick there. That was my next pick. That was a good steal. That Boyers. Now I'm going to go ahead. I'll go ahead and take Richie Farmer then in place. Part of the Unforgettables back in the day. He was a fan favorite. His shot making, for his shot making and effort there. he went to Kentucky politics post career. So he's good guy to just have on the team there. As first guy off the bench, and then I'm going to continue. The '90s. When I think of the '90s, I think of a lot of defense in general, whether it's college or NBA. So I'm going to go with Andre Reddick, known for his shot blocking and rebounding, also known as the Rejector. Defensive anchor during the mid '90s runs, and then he did play overseas as well professionally. So I'm going to take those two guys. One again as part of the unforgettables, and then the other guy just kind of keep my standard here with defense.
It's kind of crazy to hear Tyler say the reason he picked Richie Farmer is because he's a politician. So that wasn't
that was bingo card.
Yeah, that was definitely not on there. And then another little interesting fact I have a shoe from Andre Riddick, believe it or not. There was some alumni game that he gave the shoe to my sister that is down at the Johnston household as we speak. So I'll be honest with you guys. I didn't like either pick there. I'm just going to say it now. I think Richie Farmer deserved to get selected. Andre Riddick, I'm not sure if he did. Obviously, we're still talking about stuff that was over 30 years ago at this point. But Tyler, I think you might have just went from having the best team to maybe, crapping down your leg a little bit. Jacob, what do you got going for you here?
I think, real quick, I do got to comment on Tyler's picks. I will say the Andre Reddick pick, I don't think it's as bad as you think, Kim, just because if you want a backup center, that's another position where, kind of like point guard, there's not a ton of true centers. Pitino had a lot of, there's 6'9", 6'10" forwards. So, I'll defend that pick a little bit. Get ready, Tom, to listen to Why Didn't Richie Play More, because that is one thing I do know from the early 90s, that every fan that called the postgame show was just wondering why Richie didn't play more. So, with that said, I'm going to come back. I'm going to take another wing here, and I'm going to take Roderick Rhodes, another guy that averaged, 14-ish a game, 6'6" wing. I think I can kind of build something here on the bench and, not tell a secret, but maybe come back and hopefully get a backup big man somewhere along the way.
Yeah, I love that pick. That was going to be my selection here. I mean, he had a great year, especially towards the end of his career. 14.6 points per game one season to highlight it off. So I really like that selection there. And now I got back-to-back picks. I got Darren Feldhouse, my first guy off the bench. So I'm going to try and get a big here, and I'm going to try and get a backup guard here. And I'm down between two guys for my guards. Obviously, I can spoil it now and tell you who I'm down to because I picked before you guys both take them. I'm really down between Allen Edwards and Wayne Turner, trying to figure out which one of the two that I want. Tyler, I know you took Allen Edwards on the last podcast that we did for the Tubby team.
I took both.
And yeah, you did. But I think I'm going to go ahead and get Allen Edwards here. I like the ability that he has to be able to rebound the ball as a guard, averaged almost 6 rebounds per game. I like being able to get Allen Edwards here as well. And then, Jacob, I'm not sure if I'm going to take your big or not, but we're going to see here.
I got one I'm looking at right now. Don't you do it.
I'm down between two guys. I mean, one had a pretty long pro career, ended up being a first-round pick. That's actually not where I'm going to go. I'm going to go ahead and get Jared Prickett here. I like his ability and his way to stayed with the Cats for all 4 years. Never put up numbers that would, blow you away, but consistently averaging around 7 to 10 points and anywhere from 6 to 8 rebounds per season. And that's really what you want coming off the bench, a guy who can put the ball in the basket when needed to and get you those much-needed rebounds. So I like being able to add those two. Were you going to go a different direction? Were you going to go with the old SP?
I'm actually going to pass on. I wasn't going either direction there. Oh. I'm taking a detour here, Kim. No, I really like the Jared Prickett pick. I honestly almost took him over Roderick Rhodes. I just think, with my team, Mark Pope you can play the center, but I don't have like a true big man. So I think off the bench, I need to look for a guy with a lot of size. And I'm going to go off the beaten path here and go with Rodney Dent. This is a guy that averaged, 10 points the 1 year. Obviously, I don't need him to come in and be a prolific scorer, but someone that can, 6'11", bang around a little bit, finally add some size to this team. And I'll go with Dent.
Yeah, he was on my list. Honestly, I didn't think you were going to do enough work pre-podcast to pull up a guy like Rodney
I know Dent. Rodney Dent. You got to remember, I may not have watched these guys live, but I've heard all the stories. I've watched a lot of replay games with my dad from, the 90s season. So, I may not have watched it live, but we've seen a lot of this.
I love it. All right, Tyler, you're wrapping us up here. Who are you taking? It looks like when I said Jared Prickett, it looked like that might have been your guy you were looking for there. It looked like you have.
He wasn't necessarily the guy I was looking for, but he was up there. He was someone that maybe was going to be an honorable mention on my end. But you said Wayne Turner. He was someone that I was considering. I actually ended up backing out of him last minute, replacing him for Sean Woods as my final pick here.
How many times is he going to do this?
I mean, yeah, at some point we got to learn and we got to listen, Tom. Sean Woods has been off the table for probably about 4 rounds now.
And not only that, I think we came back and talked about him later because
his name has been mentioned at least 6 or 7 times.
I don't even have him written down.
Because two picks later, I came back and said, I'm grabbing Jeff Shepard because Sean Woods is off the board.
Sean Woods is off the board. He is my starting point guard, pal.
So go ahead and grab Wayne Turner.
I do see him now. Yep. Damn. Well, then I guess I will go Wayne Turner.
All right. Tell me what you like about Wayne Turner, because obviously the Turner family is going to see this, and now they all know that you didn't want him on the team. So now go ahead and explain to his family why you didn't want Wayne Turner.
I mean, Wayne Turner, there's nothing else to say about him. He's an elite on-ball defender. He is a fast break interior. He started on the 96 championship team. He played, in 3 Final Four games. Guy's elite. You got to put him on your team. He's a good off the bench guy. He's going to do good for my team. No shot against him. I'll just try to change it up a little bit, not put him on 2 different rosters here.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about just a 3-year run being on some of the best teams in Kentucky's history, Wayne Turner's got an argument for that. Obviously, the 96 team, he won the national championship there, goes back to the Final Four the next year, and then wins it all in 98. So just for that, I think Wayne Turner's a really good pick. He was on my list as well. Just didn't, I liked having Sean Woods running the point 4 rounds ago before I picked him. So it's good to see that now. But, Jacob, you had the second pick. You were stuck in the middle there. Go ahead and recap your roster for us. Give us your starting 5 and your guys coming off the bench.
Yeah, so the best player on the team is going to be Tony Delk. We're going to start him at the 2. And then Travis Ford will be the starting point guard, followed. And then I'll probably play Reggie Hansen out on the wing there with Delk. And then Pelfrey and Pope down low. And then off the bench, we got a nice little mix of different styles with Jeff Shepard, Roderick Rhodes, and Rodney Dent. And by the way, Rodney Dent, that sounds like the name of a 90s country singer as well. So I think he might have double dipped.
Yeah, I mean, he might have.
Have you heard of
Richard Dent? I think it's Richard Dent is who you're thinking of. I want to say that's a musician. That sounds familiar. But I will say,
if you got in your 97, Ford Ranger and you turned on the radio at that time, you cannot convince me that you wouldn't hear someone be like, and there was Rodney Dent with his #1 single.
I'm thinking about what you're talking about here. And you got John Pelfrey running the 4. I mean, this guy is 6'7". I think there's going to be a little bit of issues there. I know none of Pitino's teams really had great elite size, but running Pelfrey at the 4 might cause you a little bit of issues.
Well, then maybe we throw Hansen down there. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We can mix and match.
You're the coach, so you got to tell me what you're looking for here, pal.
I'm not. I'm handing it to Coach P and saying, you lead the way, buddy.
All right, Tyler, why don't you go ahead and recap your team, starting 5, and then your 3 guys off the bench for us.
For sure. I got starting out point. I got Anthony Epps here, taking the ball in. We got Derek Anderson at the guard, shooting guard here. Jamal Mashburn, small forward. Power forward, I have Walter McCarty, and then center I got Jamal McGlure. I had to make sure I said that one right. First one off the bench, I got Richie Farmer here. Second one, I got Andre Riddick at the center here. And then finally here to wrap it up was Wayne Turner at my point here.
Yeah, Tyler, I really liked your team, especially, rounds 1 through 5. Not a huge fan of your bench. I'm not a huge fan of the way you put a bunch of syllables in people's names that don't need to be there. Andre Riddick is who we're talking about, not Riddick. I'm not sure who that is. But we'll get there one day. I do really like your starting 5, especially I think your best pick was probably that Derek Anderson because the Jamal Mashburn was the consensus 1-1. So getting him, a great athlete, had a great Kentucky tenure. I do think you have a great starting five, but I think you might struggle once you have to start working some of those guys in. You better make sure Jamal Mashburn doesn't come off the floor. He's going to have to be like those old Rick Pitino days. He's going to have to play 40 minutes.
Oh, he can. I bet he could still do it today.
He might be. Jamal looks like he's still in some. Looks like he's still in some shape. And then I'm gonna go ahead and round out my team here, guys. And obviously, Big Blue Nation, we're gonna need your help determining which one of these guys got the best team because a lot of you guys were around for these teams. We weren't around, so we're just going based off, like Jacob said, stories, watching old highlights, watching old games from now. Obviously, we don't know what it was like playing basketball back then. Imagine Mark Pope going back with the 24-25 Kentucky basketball team playing the 96 team. Just the two different styles of basketball, how that would go. My team here, I got Sean Woods, even though Tyler tried to draft him a little bit later. I was able to still keep him down at my point guard. Derek Miller, a great shooter, 19 points per game in his final season with the Cats. A little bit of unremembered just because he was a part of a team that was on probation. Antoine Walker, one of the best guys to put on the University of Kentucky uniform, had a great Kentucky career, great NBA career. And Ron Mercer, same thing can be said, great athlete. He's actually going to be running the 3. Antoine's going to be running the 4. Antoine's a little bit bigger and a little bit thicker at the end of his career. So getting him going there. And then Nazi Muhammad, a 20-year NBA career, obviously won the national championship in 98, was a part of the great Tubby team and Pitino teams. Glad to have him there. And then off the bench, I got Darren Feldhouse, Alan Edwards, and Jared Prickett. So I got a guard, a wing, and a center, guys who can really just hold the fort down while my star players are out and getting a breather. Tyler, I don't think your bench is holding it down for you while your stars are getting a breather. Jake, I think yours are, but I'm not sure if you have that star power up front. I'm not sure if Tony Delk's going to be as much of a star to bring that team to it. I mean, ask people about that 97 team. A lot of people say if Tony's not running the point like Pitino was making them, they win it. So just throwing it out there. You can take it up with who you want. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just letting you know.
Just a ridiculous take. Real quick, we do got to just, talking about this and going through these teams, I mean, we do got to talk about just how absurd that 96 team is for a minute. You know, obviously, I can't say the best team of my lifetime because it was a year before I was born, but very well maybe the best UK team ever when you look at it from just top to bottom. Tony Delk, Antoine Walker, Walter McCarthy, Derek Anderson. I mean, so many of these guys that went high for us. Nazi Muhammad, all kind of on that team together and just running everybody off the floor. Is it the greatest college basketball team in Kentucky history? Maybe in college basketball history. It's up there. Just saying.
I mean, we talk about that 2014, 2015, and how many guys it produced to the NBA. That 95-96 team had 9 guys that went on to play long careers in the NBA. And I know if you talk to any Kentucky fan that was around during those times or were able to watch those games, they're saying the 96 team is the best team to ever strap up the shoelaces. And, I mean, I think you hear Coach Pope say that a lot. I mean, I know that was, just personally speaking, that was one of the first years I know my mom watched Kentucky basketball, and she has such a fond memory of that team because of how good they were and how many guys, had such successful careers in so many different aspects of life. Obviously, Nazi was able to get to the 20-year career. Antoine Walker had a long career as well. And 9 guys in the NBA from one college basketball team. Really, it's more of just a shame to think that they didn't three-peat and they didn't win that 97 national championship.
I mean, just looking at some of the stats here briefly, I mean, I know a lot of our older fans are going to know this stuff, but it's truly kind of mind-boggling to see. I mean, that team over 40 games averaged 91.4 points and allowed under 70. So on average, they were beating their opponents by 20 points. It's truly unreal. 34-2, I think, was their final record. Just completely dominant from the beginning of the year till the end.
Yeah, it really was. And guys, obviously we went through 3 eras of Kentucky coaches. You guys have all had your own teams. If you had to pick your favorite team that you've drafted, which one would you guys say? Jacob, are you a fan of your Pitino team? Are you a fan of your Calipari team or your Tubby team? Which one do you think you like the best?
I think if you're asking me which of my teams is the best, it's the Cal team. I would say that this is probably my second best team. I maybe didn't have the strongest Tubby draft. I mean, my team was still better than Tyler's because how can you not be? But yeah, I think this team here's got a chance to win the round robin.
Yeah, Tyler, I'm going to pose that same question to you. Which of those wins did you think was your favorite?
I mean, look, all three of my teams are going to be the best teams on the board, so I don't know what we're talking about. But if I had to rank my three teams amongst each other here, I would do reverse order. I would do the Richie first, I would do the Tubby second, and I would do the Calipari third.
Yeah, I mean, that stacks out because, I mean, even your Pitino team's not winning anything either, especially going up against Boyer's nice teams. So if I had to power rank the teams, just 1 through 9, it would probably be Tyler's Pitino team at 7, his Tubby team at 9, his Calipari team at 8, and then Boyers and I can fight 1 through 6 for the power rankings.
Sounds fair.
I will say, I do think the funnest one to put together was this Pitino team. Being able to just go through the old stats, ask other people that were around for that time to, pick their brain on a different era of Kentucky basketball. I do think this Pitino one has been my favorite to do.
Yeah, it was definitely, again, I've watched a lot of these games on tape and replay, but, it's kind of cool just to refresh the memory and, really learn how great, some of these guys, just to see how good in the early 90s Jamal Mashburn actually was. And, again, to just explore that 96 team and, look at it and really kind of understand that, it probably is the greatest team to ever play here. 15, had they finished it, they would have been there, I think, no doubt. It wouldn't even have been a conversation, but they didn't finish it off, and 96 did.
Yeah, and obviously, I think this is going to be where our run of fantasy drafts stops. Because, guys, I don't think we could talk about Eddie Sutton and Joe B. Hall. Those are they date us pretty heavily. So at that point, we'd just be going all off of stats, and I feel like Big Blue Nation would probably come at us with a lot of critiques if we were to go with the full Joe B. Hall team.
We can do our all-time Billy Gillespie teams, our all-time Billy G.
Yeah, that might be a minute reel on the TikTok for all of our TikTok fans. We might be able to do it for that, but we will have a lot of
Mark Pope team next week.
I mean, we already have enough to fill 3 rosters there, but we will have a lot of great content coming for you. Obviously, SEC Media Days were this week. We're going to take a couple days, look into what Coach Stoops said, and see what we can talk about next week about the Kentucky football program. Because, Jacob, I don't know if you know this, man, we're only 44 days away from the college football season, and the Cats wrapping up to take on Toledo. I know you've been negative. I'm bringing some of that positivity out of you. I know, because when I said Kentucky football, you didn't wince there. That's the first time in a couple weeks that you didn't. So I'm bringing some of that positivity out of you. Only 44 days until college football. I'm starting to get excited because at least I think, we can take down the Rockets. After that, things start getting up in the air. But we'll have some news for you then.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm super excited for UK football, but, I am excited to spend my Saturdays sitting on the couch and betting and, watching 6 games at once. So, have the laptop, 2 TVs. Do it all. So I am ready for some fall Saturdays.
Future segment of the podcast, Boyer's Bets, coming soon.
Hey, last year I was texting them to Cam, and we had some winners. You guys didn't have me on for football season last year. I was telling them
we invited you.
I told him we needed Boyers' best bets because my best bet of the weekend went 8-4 throughout the year. So
I mean, it was always against the Kentucky Cats.
That's not true. It's not true. I got against them one time.
Oh, Mr. Negative over here. Jesus. Really, the start of the season for Boyers is the countdown for the basketball season.
All right. Tyler, you're not going to find a guy that loves college football as much as I do. I will watch every second, every day.
Yep, and I can't wait for the Kentucky football season. I know there has been a lot of negativity, but guess what? There also has been a lot of positivity coming back, obviously on the recruiting trail for the Cats. So that's good news. We'll talk a little bit about that next week. Obviously, we'll give you updates on the TBT team as well. So look forward to our next podcast next Thursday. Guys, that's all I have for you. Follow us on TikTok, on X, on Instagram. And please like and subscribe on YouTube. Leave us comments. Who had the best team? Who had the worst team? Actually, you know what? You don't have to talk about who had the worst team. We'll just assume it's Tyler if you don't say anything. So all the viewers who don't say anything, we just assume you're voting for Tyler for the worst team. So if you do think Tyler has the best team, please comment, because if not, we just assume he had the worst. But that's all I've got for you, Big Blue Nation. Until next time, go Big Blue.
Go Big Blue.